So I just wanted to take some time to talk a little bit about traditional ecological knowledge. Traditional ecological knowledge, or TEK, is the term that we use today to refer to this ancient body of land knowledge that indigenous societies have, traditional indigenous societies have. It is knowledge about a particular area of land where indigenous peoples have lived. And of course, where indigenous peoples have lived, that relationship, connection to the land goes back generations. So TEK, or traditional ecological knowledge, is knowledge about the land and the relationships with the land, the health of the land, that goes back for generations. It's about intergenerational residency, knowledge that comes from intergenerational residency in a particular area. So this is a very old, very time-tested body of knowledge that tells people how to live well, how to live comfortably, and how to live sustainably in a particular land, a particular environment. Traditional ecological knowledge also provides ecological baselines that go back for generations. Most ecological baselines today refer to maybe the 1950s, maybe a little earlier, 1940s, sometimes 1930s. But traditional ecological knowledge provides baselines of a land's health that go back for generations, centuries in some cases in terms of what's being told, millennia in others, depending on what body of knowledge you are talking about. Because of these ecological baselines that go back so far, traditional ecological knowledge also functions, provides knowledge for people to be these experts about the health of the land. That is what Michigan organic farmer Maynard Kaufman, he calls it being eyes on the land. People who are of the land, who have lived on a particular land for, a long time, especially for generations, they know that land, they have a relationship with the land, and they are able to be eyes on the land, be able to be watching out for the health of the land and how it's, are there major changes that need to be noticed? Is there different ways that humans are impacting the land that need to be altered or need to be changed? This is all part of living sustainably, learning what works for the land that you live on. And if you have that kind of knowledge that goes back for generations, you're going to be able to have a really healthy relationship with your land base. Today, traditional ecological knowledge in indigenous communities around the world, many people are working on revitalizing what has either been taken or lost during the major eras of colonialism. Not that colonization has stopped, but the major policies of we must force native peoples, indigenous peoples, to become like the colonizer, there's so much that people are having to recover from that. So there's a lot of movement all around the world in indigenous communities to revitalize, relearn, renew this ancient way of knowing, these traditional ecological knowledge bases. Because really, it's an irreplaceable body of knowledge. It goes back millennia. It would take us thousands of years to ever even begin to start to reclaim that knowledge. That colonialism really forced an awful lot of loss in when colonialism came in. It's a deliberate attempt to destroy indigenous cultures. It destroyed a lot of that knowledge, but amazingly, some of that knowledge has survived, and people are working at reclaiming that, revitalizing that. And this is for indigenous peoples. And there's also, I think, a really good value in recognizing that people of the land in general, if they are living mindful, long-term relationships with a particular land, not just moving about, but with a particular land, if they're developing those mindful relationships, they're going to have a similar kind of body of knowledge. Maybe it doesn't go back as far, but it's a wonderful starting point that we all need to be listening to and need to be cultivating ourselves. And ultimately, it's so important to remember, whether we're talking about more recent land knowledge, as in non-indigenous people who are living on the land, rural people, or if we're talking about traditional ecological knowledge that comes from indigenous communities, all of that comes from relationships with the land. It's about relationships. And when you have a relationship, the longer that relationship is, the more you pay attention and cultivate and nurture that relationship, the more mindful you are in that relationship, the more you're going to be aware of how the other who is in that relationship with you, what their state is, how well they are doing and what their needs are, and you're able to work on a mutual relationship where you're taking care of each other. So that's what all of traditional ecological knowledge is about. And there's some amazing things that TEK has revealed to people, that Western science and all its arrogance thinks nobody else can really come up with. But, there are different places to take a look at, such as the Inuit, up in the Arctic Circle, who noticed that the sun had shifted. And I want to leave that for you to find out on your own. Okay, just a sample, a little teaser of what you can find when you start to look into traditional ecological knowledge. All right, that's it for now. Just a little blurb, a little overview of what TEK is all about.